We're going to go into our budget presentation, and after each slide, I'll just stop and ask if you have any questions about what we had just gone over, except for the first slide. It's just our motto at DCEMS, and we'll continue through there. Committed to community, every decision our organization makes is made with the community we serve in mind. Our motto is a reminder of our commitment. In every decision, we will ask ourselves, does this stay true to our promise of commitment? Our new ambulances all have on the back of them now, committed to community. So we've started applying our motto to everything we do, and as part of our new brand as well. This is the model for a DCEMS employee going forward. We started implementing it this year. It'll be full functioning next year. It starts with a wellness, a clinical skills, and an initiative component. The wellness is the physical abilities testing that will begin next year. Was put into the new union contract that was signed and approved by the union membership. It will be coming to you soon in a session to sign as well. And then the fitness requirement, which is our requirement of our employees to work out every single day while they're on shift for a minimum of 45 minutes. With that, we've implemented annual core competencies and protocol exams, quarterly sim lab scenarios, which currently we're using the building that's 2 buildings over from where we currently sit to run quarterly scenarios, live realistic scenarios that are watched remotely, I guess you could say, or in another room by our clinical team, by Dr. Panchel and other medical residents. We've also began to expand this where the city of Delaware is going to be coming through to do the simulations, and then other departments have been running through simulations with us. This year we got approved and we selected our shift clinical educators. Next year that will be fully functioning, where we will have employees go do in-person training, face-to-face training at stations while our employees are on shift to increase our education and training. And our initiatives, greater team participation. The new contract does have compensation for different certifications. And we highly encourage our employees to further their education and get degrees as well. Any questions about this slide? The strategic plan for 2020 was, we started the EMT hiring process. We've onboarded multiple EMTs. We have another EMT hiring process that's currently ongoing. We started station fitness workouts, launched the simulation lab, continued with core comp testing, implemented the protocol exam, strengthened our mental health program, started the shift clinical educator program, hired a logistics coordinator, increased part-time ranks, and implemented our minimum staffing. For 2021, we're going to fully implement the EMT hiring process, whereas per the contract, we will now be bringing in full-time EMTs into our ranks. Currently, they're just part-timers, but they'll be full-time EMTs into our ranks in 2021. We're going to start our physical abilities testing process, continue the core comps testing and protocol exams, and implement operative IQ, which is tied to our logistics coordinator. Operative IQ is a software program that tracks all of our inventory, whether it's medical supplies, cleaning supplies, clothing, uniforms, and such, and gives us better tracking and efficiency on all that we do inventory-wise. It also allows for us to have better control and efficiency on our vehicle maintenance. The Shift Clinical Educator program will officially launch next year, and technology upgrades to the station communication with the fiber extension that's currently ongoing. Any questions about what we've done this year, what we plan to do next year? You will see a 4% increase in our budget for next year. This is mostly due to the fact that the CBA that will be getting signed into effect next year has raises for our union members. The year-to-date expenses are low because of CARES funding. EMS did benefit from a lot of the CARES Act money that came through. Like I said, salary and benefit increase in 2021 because of the CBA. Our supplies costs went up greatly due to COVID. We don't see an end in that in our near future. Medical supplies, cleaning supplies, they've all skyrocketed in cost as far as cost is concerned. And with the new CBA, where we have put in the physical abilities testing and mandated the daily workouts, our services and charges have obviously increased because now we need to pay for the physical abilities testing to take place.
Commissioner, just to add on to that, I mean, anytime you would see a 4% increase when the year-to-date budget is 23% below, obviously, that would indicate that the budget has more than enough room in it, and you wouldn't see an increase next year. The CARES funding, what I actually did was credit expense the salaries. So if you look, their salaries are way down. This is going to be really hard. You like to use the historical information for budgeting moving forward. This is going to be really challenging to use this year's data for EMS and the Sheriff's Department because of that. So.
What is the CBA increase for 21?
It is on $374,851.21.
Approximately?
Yeah.
What percent is that? That's what I was after.
Oh, what percentage? I have it on that.
The reason I'm getting at it is, 2020 had 27 pays.
Yes.
And 21 has 26. So right there is a 3.6% reduction in salaries.
Correct. So the 26 pays for 2021 compared to the 27 pays in 2022 is lending to a 4.2% increase because of the CBA. And then obviously if you add that increase because of the 27th pay, it would be 7 point, what was it, 3.6 is what the 27th pay gave it. So yeah, it would, if we wouldn't have had 27 pays last year, then it would be a 7% increase.
And so that's why I was asking what the increase was in the CBA, because I don't think it's 7%. I don't know if you've done the math yet. 374,000 on the.
It's hard to, because the administrative, clinical captains, the group here is not part of the CBA. They're not part of the CBA. They were the 2%.
Well, that'd just make it higher.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of stuck on a 4% overall salary increases. I think your CBA increase for the union members is roughly 4%. Maybe it's higher. And so how do you get to a 7% increase when the non-union are at 2% and the rest of it is maybe at 4 or 5%? And we're hiring EMTs, which should bring the salaries down a little bit, as they.
If I remember, the first year of the CBA was, just for the union members, was closer to, I don't have that first year in front of me, but it was closer to, I think it was closer to 10 for the first year. And then with the fact that we threw in, the EMTs and then only the 2% for the rest of the staff, that's what brought it down.
Well, I don't want to get laced up in reconciling that, but I'd really like to see the reconciliation of.
Sure, no problem.
2020 salaries to 21 salaries and why it's a 4% increase when intuitively it ought to be a very small increase.
Okay.
To me. Keep going. On that offline.
Any further questions about this slide? Capital purchases, our total request this year is $655,000 worth of capital purchases, which is down 57% over last year. Our main request are two new ambulances with the power load systems and radios. These total $265,000 each to replace multiple high mileage ambulances. The two that we would be rotating out of our fleet by bringing those in would be an ambulance that is a 07 at 124,000 miles and a 99 at 165,000 miles. That's what those two would be rotating out of the fleet. We are also asking for two additional power load systems for our ambulances still using the manual cot systems. The power load systems are, I don't know if you've seen them before, but it's, the hydraulic kind of does it by itself, lifting. And
Yeah, they are quite different. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, really good compared
it's
to.
the standard now, and we still have some ambulances out there that are using the manual cot system, which is primed for back and shoulder injuries. And then we are requesting roughly $7,000 for an OB mannequin and obstetrics mannequin. There's not a department in this county, including us, that has good obstetrics mannequins or training equipment. And so as we do more scenarios and invite more departments through, we would like to be able to offer high-quality training in the area of obstetrics. And then this is from the 417 fund, or last year's, but the county fiber extension project is still ongoing for our EMS stations 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10. Any questions about this slide?
Jeff, can you explain a little bit about the importance of the connectivity with your stations, the fiber project and getting that out there, and how your training and different things like that, how important it is?
Sure. So even before COVID hit, we kind of launched a big initiative to put a lot of training online. And our thing in admin here and the clinical team here is if we push something out to the staff, they need to be trained on it. Well, we're spread across 10 different stations with 11 ambulances. It's really hard to do any sort of in-person training anytime we put something out to them. So what we do now is, for example, we just got the new disinfectant sprayer guns, and we got a bender lift system, which is to help lift patients off the ground and decrease back injuries and such. You can't just put that stuff out into the field without training, and it would take us forever to go out there. So Chief Burgess got with Captain Gano and Chief Cochran, and they put together the training video in our online platform. And what we do is we launch that out to the system, and everybody has to log on and watch the online training on how certain things work. Well, the problem that we're running into is we have a lot of stations in our system that have poor connectivity, and crews are reporting back to us that they can't do the training. And then because of COVID, we have a ton of Zoom meetings. They're reporting back that they can't connect via Zoom. And so we have a high expectation of our crews to be present for meetings and to do trainings, and what we're running into is issues with connectivity where they can't actually do it. So it becomes hard to hold people accountable and actually get this done if they don't have the resources for it. So that's a big push for the county, the fiber extension to our EMS stations. Is that what you're looking? Yep. Expenditures, medical supplies increase 16.5 thousand due to increased costs from the suppliers. We get almost weekly emails from our suppliers about medical supplies going up or certain things going out of stock. I don't know where or who makes gloves, but at one point we were told that gloves were going up 15% in cost. So we bought a lot of gloves at our normal price and tried to stockpile them, but of course that's going to run out. Operative IQ will be implemented in 2021, which will streamline purchasing of materials and supplies. Of course, with our dedicated logistics coordinator now, that will greatly help. Again, the increased professional services for the physical abilities testing and training. We've increased our training budget for $35,000 because of additional clinical testing and staff development. And there's been a reduction in maintenance because the service center has a dedicated diesel mechanic that can work on our ambulances now. We used to have to send them out of county quite frequently, but we've been working very closely with John Melvin to make sure that our ambulances are staying in county.
Yeah, when we had the person that led the service center retired, I know Chief Burgess had worked with, John Melvin, we brought in somebody that was a diesel mechanic to replace that person with that expertise so that we didn't have to send that work out. And I think when that person moves over to the career center, we'll be able to do more work with the county engineer and a lot of different folks kind of in that vision. So.
Any questions on this slide? Associated organizations, we still work with the Pre-Hospital Care Board. We're still actively implementing a common EMS protocol. We have the equipment for an AVL on every one of our ambulances and most all of our staff vehicles. So we will be ready to go live with the AVL system implemented by the 911 Center in August. Just a quick reminder, the AVL system is the Advanced Vehicle Locators, which will help with sending the closest ambulance to EMS calls. Enhanced training opportunities through our simulation lab. Chief Cochran is a driving force in the peer support group, helps Delaware County's first responders and law enforcement agencies, roughly 1,000 people through traumatic events. There's 26 members of the team. There's multiple EMS members on this team. It's a multi-discipline team, and enhanced training and resources for team members in 2021.
Yeah, the common EMS protocol with the Pre-Hospital Care Board, I know Commissioner Merrill mentioned it just the other day in session, and that's a big step forward. That's great.
Yes, we're very excited for that. Our crews are greatly looking forward to it, so that we can, it doesn't matter who shows up where, it's all the same.
Yeah, that's
So.
great, yeah.
In summary, our non-compensation increase was at $145,000. Our compensation increase was $374,000. Our capital decrease was $373,000 for a total budgetary increase of roughly $148,000 or 1.1%. Any questions?
Commissioner Earl, Commissioner Lewis, other
No.
questions, comments?
Just make the statement, just reinforces what Commissioner Benton said, that $373,000 compensation increase is based on comparison to 2020 budget, which had an extra week.
Correct.
So that's really another 4% of whatever the compensation was beyond the 373. It's a bigger number than what's on the screen.
Yeah.
Because of the extra week.
What would that be, roughly 200,000 more?
Your payroll, or your pay is about 7.4 million for 2020. So if you divide that by 27, that's 270,000 a pay.
There's about 5 components to this reconciliation.
Yeah.
There's the
Overtime.
overtime, there's the reduction of the 27th pay, the CBA increase, the non-union staff getting the 2%. It's a real blended.
Yeah, that,
You guys are right but their budget, their overtime is a 30% of their salary budget. So it's a real blended, reconciliation.
right.
Yeah, even through COVID with placing people off in quarantine and mandating people to come to work, our overtime cost was still down over projected. So what we did do is come in and look at that, and we knocked money off of our projected overtime. Of course, keeping into account for the fact that pay is about to increase. So that did take the number going into next year and take a chunk out of it, because we've always projected pretty high on the overtime, and now that we have the minimum staffing and stuff, we can fairly accurately estimate where we're going to be, and we were able to take a decent amount of money out of the overtime budget for next year. So, but I will get the more detailed information on that. So.
My only point was, it understates the real number because it's not based on apples and apples.
Percentage increases.
And
Correct.
that was the point I was.
It's a 27 compared to a 26.
So when we say it's up 373, it's not 373 because we don't have the same base to work
Correct.
from.
Yeah, it's just a increase over last year's, but obviously last year's was an anomaly because of leap year. But. All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you very much,
A lot of big
guys.
stuff done this year.
Yes.
How old are you? 45. You're a young 45. You don't look 45.
29.
I know what you, I knew.
All right, we will resume our December 2nd, 2020 budget hearings. And we have a distinguished panel in front of us today this morning to talk about capital improvements, the big dollar stuff. So I'll turn it over to you. John, I don't know if you want to lead it off. If you could just introduce everybody since we're streaming, people who are watching.
John Melvin, Director of Facilities. With me is Randy Ormeroyd, our Maintenance Coordinator, and Mike Frommer has joined us at the table for this presentation, given the big ticket dollars, ticket items we're going to go over. So again, going over, really the point of today was to go over the capital improvement projects, the 420 and the 401 fund projects. So I wanted to start the discussion, obviously, with the hot topic of the day is the historic courthouse. Project is wrapping up. Actually, the general contractor has pretty much completed. He's start working on the punch list items. We did run into an issue with the state elevator inspector. The elevator's not working. Well,
The elevator's working.
The elevator's working. The elevator hasn't been inspected yet because of several issues. We've worked through all but one of the issues we're still trying to address to get the elevator working, which is holding up the furniture installation, because obviously all the furniture going in, they need the elevator to transport. We don't want them trying to carry up that furniture because they'll, one, damage the furniture, or two, or damage the stairs. So working diligently to get that up and running, so we're still hopeful to get that done here, possibly this week, next week, get furniture installed. Still looking at around the holidays as far as the move-in date. So actually, Mike and I were kind of discussing that this morning with the holidays, obviously, Christmas on Friday, New Year's on a Friday, and potentially looking at maybe a date in between the holidays for the actual move, so that you can have your last meetings in here in December, and then January 4th start open for business in the historic courthouse. That is the goal, and then you would have your first streaming meeting is the 11th. So you'd be using the new hearing room. So that's what we were discussing this morning. That's the overall goal, to wrap up that project. So I keep hearing, good comments. It really has come together nicely. Again, I want to commend the board for investing in that building. It was a major investment, but it's going to pay off immensely. So
It's lovely. It's great. I mean, really neat. Keeping the historic nature of the building with and updating it for our use. I mean, it's not easy to do, but you've done it.
yeah, and bringing back some of those touches of the original, like
Yes.
opening up the floor so you can get that two-story window of the original courtroom. Just little effects like that are a neat feature. It's a neat story to tell too, as well, as the
Absolutely.
building continues to age well. So, any other questions on that?
Just an observation, you don't want to hear this, and he's already heard it. The exterior structure out there has got to get addressed.
The mechanical screening, mechanical
That's
fencing.
not-
Yes, yes.
It does not, it does a disservice to the money that was put into a $9.5 million courthouse.
Yeah.
And it needs to get addressed.
We'll we'll definitely look into that. So we'll get past this, get the move done, and get out of winter weather. Look at alternatives for that. So, okay. The next slide, we want to just touch base on the Bixby campus, where we stand with that. Again, M&A Architects have really completed all the drawings and specifications for both, for the Bixby campus. Just kind of, again, an overview of what, kind of a flyover of what you've already seen. Just again to highlight the original Career Center being renovated, the new addition of the Sheriff Administration Building. Other large building, there's the Engineers Vehicle Storage Building, and then some outbuildings for fuel depot and wash bays, and some existing structures there. We had proposed Mike just wanted to throw in a kind of where we're at. Again, we're ready to go out for bidding. I think working with your capital plan, your capital financing plan, we're ready to go out through this together, looking at January, 1st of January, we go ahead and get it out to bid, go through all the approvals, and the bid opening puts us into March to get the bids in and evaluate, and beginning of March, actually do the notice to proceed, award the contracts, get the contractor moving. Looking at, working with M&A, they estimate a 14-month construction period, which puts us into May of 2022 for completion and, 30 days to close out, do the punch list closeout. So looking at beginning of June of 2020 to actually complete the project altogether. So there's a lot of work. We're fully developing the site, other than about 8 acres that we're working at. I'm talking here in the upcoming slides about the social services complex. So some of the things that, the highlight things, that really kind of have pushed this budget up is there's a lot of site work to be done up here to bring these up to get proper water flow. So I've really kind of pushed that initial budget. There's from what we originally started. Originally, we started just talking about renovating the existing building, and we've really added a lot of buildings out there. So from those first talks, when we started looking at this building for purchase, the site has really developed. We have had an opportunity with this we had a little slowdown with COVID, which actually afforded opportunity. We've had the chance the city has reviewed all the sanitary plans, so we've made some adjustments. We've incorporated a lot of that stuff into the bid documents, so that helps save. That's one of the issues we ran into the historic courthouse project, is we didn't get the review. We had some change orders because the city wanted changes to the sanitary. So a lot of that has already been worked out, incorporated in the plans. So
The timing of the project, bidding it after the holiday, there's no advantage to bidding over the holidays into December. The timing is perfect it's a really nice sized project for a Central Ohio contractor. They would be able to get started in March, have an entire building season, doing the foundation work of the new facility and everything. In the summer and spring, so it really sets up for a very good. I think people have, the supplies have caught up with COVID, and so I don't think there'll be a lot of supply issues, that would drive the cost up of the bid. So I think the timing is very good, and I think everything can be under roof, and there's a lot of flexibility on the site. There's new structures, there's an existing structure that's already, so I think it just sets up nice, and we'll get a lot of good bids, so.
We need to make sure we have that financial projection done so that we know how much to borrow and when. So. The second curb cut on Kilbourne Road, that's a new one, right?
that's that would be a new entrance, mainly for the sheriff's office to separate out the existing office existing curb cut is the existing entrance to the career center. Again, this is focused on, the county engineer, building safety, soil and water, sanitary engineers, OSU. So to separate out the sheriff's traffic and those offices, development side and the law enforcement side.
That road will go all the way through to.
Well, there'll be gates securing it, so the public would only have access to the parking there at the building. And there's a connector. If somebody's in the wrong place, they can get without going back on Kilbourne Road. And this would be actually secured by a gate for, sheriff's office, engineer's office, all the building and staff there. The lot there to the south of the existing would probably be the county vehicles for the building safety, sanitary engineers, and those employees, and then these two would be public parking.
Where is the engineer's office again?
Engineer's office, that would be in the north wing of the
Okay.
existing Career Center building. And then the
Okay.
back of it would be all the services, the county garage,
okay.
the service center, the building maintenance is going back in there. And then the south end is where the property storage and evidence handling for the sheriff's office would be.
Okay.
So, in this,
It's an ideal setup for the county engineer. Their two main functions are road maintenance crews. I think sometimes we forget about all the road maintenance crews and staffing that they have. And then their development interface, out front in that square parking lot, you could almost envision all the people that come, to do development work. They're just gonna be working
okay.
in that area. They'll walk in one door, go to regional planning, soil and water is gonna be in there, code compliant, or building safety, regional sewer and county engineer. And then the county engineer on the backside of their building is all their heavy construction crews, and, that'll be their vehicle storage with all the dump trucks and equipment in the back. So it's a very good setup.
Yeah, it really is.
That new road, John, will have a gate on both ends then?
Yes, there'll be a gate, there, the new curb. So, and there's a gate down here. The public will still be able to get around
Okay.
that way to Bowtown.
Okay.
And the new road really works well for all those agencies to get, because they'll extend right down to 36, 37. And then I know the city thoroughfare plan is eventually take it clear over to 23 there at Panhandle.
Yeah.
And that gets all that truck and traffic
Yes.
out of the city and going north and south without going through downtown
Yep.
Delaware.
Yeah.
The site really lays out well. There was, there's some challenges. It's pretty flat to get and they have to get the water flowing south. So, they've added some detention ponds and expanding the current pond.
Chris was talking yesterday about that road to the north there, that
Yep.
road, being a 2022 project.
Yep. So, and.
May not be open when we open, but soon.
Right, and the civil engineer for M&A have worked and coordinated the grading with the engineer that Chris has hired for that road work. So part of our site package will get grading up and coordinate with this, so there won't, it'll all be coordinated, they won't have to come back and regrade stuff when they put the road in. It should work they'll work together in that, so that has been coordinated to help too, so.
Also, in addition to the property storage, the sheriff also has their simulator.
Yeah.
The fire, what they were showing yesterday about their firing simulator and some other
Oh, wow.
facilities as well that they're using.
Okay.
We ended up not taking that out of the sheriff's building to reduce the cost, the new
Yeah.
building to reduce the cost.
Yeah, it's in the-
Utilize that space better.
Yeah, in the existing Career Center building.
Wow. Oh, boy, that's exciting.
It's going to be an
Yes.
exciting project.
The fire grounds, that area will be demoed and cleaned up, so that'll be another
Oh, okay.
spot for the future.
So what's the big building by that? Just, yeah.
This big building
Yeah.
is the engineer's vehicle storage building. That's
Oh,
for the salt trucks.
Oh, okay.
They're all stored in there. It's minimal heat, minimal, condition in there, but keep them out of the weather. They need to keep it heated, so, when a winter storm comes, they can get in and go. The trucks are warmed up, ready to go, and also for them, keeping them ready to go too. But the actually garage will be actually on this corner of the existing building where they actually do the service of those vehicles. This is just for reference, this existing drive off of Bow Town, and that is the corner that we've in discussion with Tri-Township for
Oh,
their new
okay.
fire station is in that location right there. I think it extends out to about here. So it still leaves a little expansion, whether it be parking or building or something, and then there's the other property there.
Where is our property property line to the west?
It's right along the, past that parking, there's a tree line, it's pretty much parallel to that parking line, it's a few feet, 10 feet off that.
So we do
Parking.
have that green space along. both
There's a little bit of green
sides.
space, and then there's all this, and there's still a remaining piece of that
Okay.
after the 2 acres to Tri-Township.
If down the road, we put that social service building in, where do you see that going?
That's over here, it's kind of off the corner, off the slide here in this corner. So there's a roundabout off the slide there, Kilbourne and the Bixby Parkway, or whatever they want to call it. There's a kind of a triangle lot that remains off of that. The new road is on the east property line, extends up to here, and then there's a triangle lot, about 8 acres up here. So that's the location.
We have a very preliminary layout of that.
Yep.
later on.
Any other questions on Bixby?
Wow.
Yep. So next, we want to address our annual permanent improvement maintenance list, the capital items. We want to look at for the buildings and grounds, kind of our laundry list of items. And again, we present these in a prioritized order, which is always subject to change as the year goes through. COVID hits and then everything's kind of gets shuffled around. One thing, the first item on there I actually wanted to discuss, we went ahead and worked with the Garland Company. The Garland Company does roofs. They're on state contract. It's kind of like a design-build company where they have the material, they'll design the roof, and then they bid it out to pre-qualified local roofers. We went ahead and had them bid it out because they said the market was good, and actually they did, and the low bid came in at $315,000. So over $150,000 savings. So again, that's a good indication of the current bidding market. So we wanted to go ahead, that money is in the 2020 budget. So I wanted to go ahead and present, maybe moving forward with that. Even though we're in the winter.
Roof replacement.
It's roof replacement. We go ahead and get them contracted. The thing with the Carnegie Building roof here, there's a lot of different valleys and peaks and sections that they can work one section at a time and not open up the whole roof. If we have good weather, they can go ahead and get started in small sections. So given the way the bids came in, going to recommend moving forward that project, so which would obviously be adjusted out of the 21 budget if we go ahead and encumber it in here in the 2020 budget.
Just as a side note, there's the three capital funds, the 401, the 417, and the 420. The 401's different. There's 0.1 mils dedicated to this fund. So every year it goes into it. It's about $810,000, I think, next year. I know it's been a concern of you all that as we add new facilities on, that we're setting enough money aside to do, maintenance and repairs. This money is transferred automatically. It's not something that we determine how much money goes into this fund. And right now, I think the cash balance is 1.2 million as when we did the report. And with the new amount of 810,000 for this year, we'll be about 2 million. So even with the projects that have been identified, it's not going to, continue. There's always kind of a rolling balance.
So we're 1.2 right now.
Question, since we're talking about Carnegie Building, we're going to get into a debate about how much room the library needs. And we had a meeting here, and my view is they don't need maybe about this room here. So we need to make sure we're involved in that conversation, because I'm sure the library is going to want all they can get, and the conference rooms need to be open to anybody.
Yes.
So I guess I'm just asking to make sure that commissioners are included in that conversation.
Yeah, through Mike. I actually have a meeting set up with the law library next Monday, just to view the space. And that was my anticipation, is haven't really sat down and laid out anything, but the hearing room would be converted to where their main space. The librarian, Julie, maybe we removed the big reception desk and she has a space outside of this room. But the current meeting room would stay the meeting room, as well as a small conference room would still remain those.
And there will be three of them, won't there?
And with that, where economic development is, yes.
Yeah.
So, and those would still, there would be the county's meeting rooms, not the law library.
Yeah. In addition to the public defender space here, those meetings, I think the meeting room over there it'll be open to anybody in the county, but there'll be a lot of usage for attorneys that are having meetings with clients, they use the law library, different things like that. I don't know if they do,
I know a lot of times they will do depositions over there.
I don't know if it's testimony, but that's
It's
Well,
depositions.
the question is, again, the work session we had, whether that's a responsibility the county should perform. So there is a philosophical conversation to be had there. So let's just make sure we have the conversation so that we're all, because these rooms need to be available, otherwise we'll have an issue down the road.
Yeah, if they're available, they need to be available for anybody to use, to reserve. And again, the other equation, part of this equation coming in is the public defenders. Where are they going to need to? So we have to work with that as well. So, yeah, there's still a lot to be worked out exactly how this be laid out. Again, but most of this is going to require minimal renovation to actually make our, just mainly furniture and stuff, so, yep. The other, on the list there too, just go down the wayfinding. Again, going back to Jane's project, actually end of 19, we finished up. Again, it was something that was put on hold in 20 when COVID hit, so still that. Willis?
John, before you go into that,
Yep.
just so you guys know, we added a picture of what the city did for wayfinding. So now that we
yeah.
have the campus here with the courthouse, Hayes Building, we moved people over to Union Street, the courthouse, you're gonna see some of these signs that are that's what wayfinding is. It's to put these up so that people can get
Sure.
around our campus here and understand where we're at, so.
Sure. So they'll be the same thing or complementary to what the city?
Be complimentary. It's, yeah, Jane worked with,
Jane would probably say better.
it's going to be better.
Oh, okay, better, all right.
It'll be, I'm joking.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, part of it will be just working with the city and adding to their wayfinding, but other will be a complementary identification at our sites.
Right,
as well.
okay.
And it includes, like, down with the courthouse and the Hayes Building, adding additional wayfinding on that property as well, so people walking up.
Sure.
Just for pedestrian traffic alone, know which entrance to go to, and that, just even little things like that is included that.
Because when we open the historic courthouse, there's gonna be people going in there thinking that.
It's a courthouse.
they're-
Oh, yeah.
For a jury.
They
They're
still
gonna walk in and
do.
Be like, hey,
For a jury trial,
you know,
well,
so,
They still do,
Yeah, they still walk up the back door and,
yeah.
where's the court?
I watched, last month, I watched a lady get out, walk up with her briefcase through the construction fence. The pavement was done, so it was paved, I'll give
Yeah,
them that
oh,
much.
it was paved?
Walk to the back door, look around, hesitate, then walk back to her car and get in and drive over to the new courthouse.
gee,
So, yeah.
that had to be an attorney.
Yeah, I figured it was. It had the rolling case.
In the
so-
spring, we probably should do some sort of open house.
Oh, absolutely.
If
Hopefully,
it gets warmer.
and less restrictions that we can actually invite people in. So, yeah, absolutely. And they're going to want to see it too as well. Again, Willis remains high on our priority list. We're doing some patching to hopefully get us through the winter so we don't totally lose all the parking. But the 50-year-old site lighting needs to be addressed, and those remain high on our priority list.
I'd like to see, again, with all the changes going on out there,
Well,
I'd like to see an overall plan and summary and so on, because
Yep. And maybe something we incorporate into that, because I think with this, with Big Lots moving out, again, I think it's opportunity to, I think a little investment in the facade of the building would really dress it up a lot.
Yeah.
And make it look a lot better with, not a huge investment. The bones of the building are still in good shape. Obviously, when, we'll have to look at the mechanicals on the Big Lot side when they moved out. There'll probably be some adjustments and improvements need to be made there. And the overall plan.
we had actually started to set up a meeting. I think we postponed it because of
The other thing that happened a couple weeks ago.
with the Record Center Board of Elections. But yeah, I totally agree. We're gonna get a site, an overall layout of that building, the tenants we have in there, what the plan is long-term, so.
I was at the Board of Elections, maybe it was a week after the election, and boy, I was just asking them, about more room and all this and that, and they were dying for more room.
Well, we were fortunate to have the Bixby for this election, especially with the COVID restrictions to space out, that they did all the poll working training out at the Bixby in the well, not in the auditorium, but in the Commons area. And then they also were able to prep their voting machines, and they stored them out there so that they were able to use their warehouse for the early vote center, which worked out well. I mean, I saw a lot of people go through there. With what's going on with the BMV, the line that's always there for the BMV and then early vote center, they still pulled it off. But I think the early vote center is something that is going to just continue to get used more and more. I think with this reconfigure it, Big Lots' opportunity to maybe look to improve that as well up there, so.
And we just have to be careful, and what I'm about to say is easy said, harder to do. Those peak periods, I know we use it Bixby, I think I made that suggestion, but
Yeah.
we can't have a spot for once or twice a year. It's just not cost efficient. So it's got to be more planned than here's a space and it's gathers dust. Now, I realize they need room for storage,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
beyond that, there's still going to be space to do something with, lease,
Yes.
or whatever. We shouldn't just spread it out.
No, yeah, and we definitely don't anticipate utilizing the whole space that Big Lots is leaving. And I think we maybe had a couple discussions too about those opportunities as well down that line.
Yeah, you bring up a excellent point. I think that one of the things that the county struggles a little bit with, the Willis Building actually has one of the biggest conference rooms. So I agree. I don't think making a dedicated early vote center, with a big space, like you said, that's going to be used, it needs to be a flexible space that has other use, during the year and.
But maybe that's, again, it goes back to reconfiguring the layup up there. So maybe that be an opportunity to move the large conference room and rearrange
Yeah,
space up there. But
right.
yeah, absolutely to your point.
Yeah, some of
You can't
those,
designate that amount of square footage just for a
Just
couple
getting-
times a year.
Practical use for the space that
right.
just doesn't sit there. But I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. So much of what I saw too was just the need, I mean, they literally, it's like you've got these people, a bunch of people in one room, and then you've got all these files, and, they really need space for the files and so much more. But I do agree, we will plan it, needs to be well planned, so there's not a big space that's just used twice a year.
Yep. So some of the other things, again, going towards the bottom of the list is, you'll see, just routine maintenance. We have a lot of carpet that's aged and that continue on. We've already done a couple floors in the Hayes building, and there's still remaining of the Hayes building to replace the carpet in, as well as the Willis building. We're 2008, so 12 years, there's a lot of places up there that's pretty high wear, and some resurface and parking improvements. Adds up. And there's still, we maintain a running list of projects beyond what we can fund this year, which is just, the running list of projects that we know is going to come up and will come up in the future years to be done.
I know, HCH, I'm just curious.
Historic
What's the
courthouse.
Belvedere roof replacement?
We did not, it's the Belvedere on top of the control
Okay.
course, underneath the Lady Justice.
Oh,
That wasn't part of the
And that's,
renovation.
okay, HCS is for historical courthouse, then,
Yep,
okay.
Yep,
Did
Okay.
y'all know that?
yeah.
No, I was going to ask too. Yeah.
I thought maybe it was just me.
Just sorry to use the acronyms there, but again, we actually got a pretty good price on that. But that's to completely redo the tin roof.
That
up
is a
there.
good price for that,
So.
yeah.
We already replaced the roof on
Yeah,
the.
the EPDM on the Belvedere and the cupola, that should read cupola, but,
Yes, that's
which is where Lady Justice said.
Yes,
It's, getting towards the end of its life. And, we had to, have some emergency repairs, just patch repairs done on it.
oh boy.
They
Yeah.
did go ahead and give me a bid on, redoing that, and then that's when the Belvedere started leaking, and, we had to get that fixed. So the Belvedere roof is done, but that quote there is for the cupola, which is, where Lady
Oh,
Justice
sure,
is.
sure.
I just didn't know what it was, so.
Sure, no, absolutely. Any other questions on this, or there's one other item we didn't list the 420 projects, there's only a couple, but one of them we put in there was for the 5th District Judge relocation to finish out the space in the new courthouse to move the 5th District Judge. We have the original plan.
The appellate judge.
The
yeah.
appellate judge.
Yeah.
Again, we left that space unfinished in the new courthouse. I've gotten a quote from Silling Architects to do the design work. Well, not a lot of design work, but actually do the bid documents, do construction administration, do the whole project. They're estimating to finish that space out, probably about $300,000 for the 300,000.
Is that because the judge is making certain requests, or?
No, actually, this is going back to the original design, so.
It seems like a lot.
One thing, when I met with Judge Delaney, she happened to bring up the comment that she anticipates that we could have a second appellate judge in the few years. There's some judges retiring off the 5th District, and there's a likelihood that we could end up with a second 5th District judge. So the original plans had 2 suites for 2 judges. It goes back when Judge Gormley was running for the 5th District, we were doing the design. When he did not
So those,
win,
correct me, the judge chooses the county they want to be housed in?
no, it's from the home county of that judge. It'd be
But
somebody
if
from
that
Delaware
judge
County.
changes, it may not be their home county.
Well, that's what she's anticipating, that as somebody from Delaware County, another judge, another person from Delaware County could get
That's a
elected.
big assumption, isn't it?
I think so. But to be prepared, do we go ahead, only, I mean,
Is the construction cost that you've gotten to finish out whole suites or just?
all of it, yes, the whole, to make 2 suites. Go back to the original plan where there was 2 suites.
Where there are 2 suites.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So we could look at just doing
We could look at just doing half
Yeah,
of it,
one.
doing one for now, yes, we could do that. I mean,
I
that's,
could see that with the population growth here. And chances are that someone would be elected
change in demographics.
from Delaware County.
How many counties are we talking
But,
about?
oh, gosh,
15 counties.
oh, man.
We need to lobby for,
12,
17.
lobby for another county, don't we?
well, Canton, Stark
Stark is the one that has the dominant
has the dominant, they've
number of
got,
judges,
yeah, yeah,
but-
because of their population.
again, with the
Other
change in
factors,
demographics.
partisanship, all that.
So it is a huge assumption. I mean, that's part of, that was the reason we did a change order to leave that space unfinished because Judge
Right.
Gormley did get elected.
Gormley
So
would
there was
be
no
here.
reason to leave that space flexible. And we were looking at some other options for that space. So again, yeah, nothing set in stone. We could just look at finishing half that space off, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. There is
If-
investment in the 420 for doing that work.
Well, I don't think it makes sense to do the whole thing on the assumption.
Assumption.
It'd be better to do it when the need arises, you would think. My view.
Yeah, but there's always,
So in
you know,
other words,
it's-
just do half of it. Just do, yeah, part of it.
Where is it, John?
It's on the 400 level of the domestic relations, the 4th floor, in the southeast corner of the building there.
That would be a nice location.
It is a nice location, and I mean, and honestly, too, before COVID, Judge Fuller was looking to expand some programs, and we were talking with him about possibly doing finish off some of the space for some of the programs he was looking to do. Again, COVID changed everything on that, and so, but,
Well, but we can't do that if we have to leave the space for down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
So, and that's the fear, because we have space, there's always somebody that will
Don't wanna
find a
take it
use
over.
for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be about half the cost, roughly half the cost, if you only do half?
No, I don't think so, because looking at the layout of the floor plan, once they put that first suite in, the restrooms and stuff that will be placed in there, so 3/4 of it's gonna be done at that point. So, you're gonna see some reduction in the cost, and like John said, the best thing to do is, let's look at the design, but the way that double suite is, connected, they're connected right together, so when the walls and stuff go up, it's already separated off the second space. And, the biggest, part of the cost of this was gonna be the mechanicals.
Yeah, a lot of the mechanicals you won't get
I don't think I really thought it'd be half, I just made the statement.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but, yeah.
2/3 maybe. Yeah, we're looking,
Yeah.
well, at this point, and again, at this point, we're looking, that estimate is just strictly a square foot number,
Okay.
$200 per square
That's
foot.
not in your numbers here.
And that's not in, because that's not in the permanent improvement fund. That's
Okay.
one of the capital items. We
Yeah, the
did-
check we're gonna get from Big Lots, is that gonna be one check, or are they gonna pay us out over the?
No, it should be one
One
check.
lease, one
It
check.
should be one check. Yep. So, and then we'll look at
Well,
I
let's,
don't think we didn't, and we'll have to look at the improvements for the Willis building. So that would probably be a 420 fund look at Karen here, for those improvements be out of the 420 fund, so.
So with the judge, I mean, the judge will have to move someplace.
Yeah, so we'll look at, at minimum, we'll do half, we'll do one suite, I shouldn't say half, and it may not be half, it may be, one
Yeah,
that she needs
okay.
for one suite.
Okay, and in other words, she would be going over there
Yep.
and not anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anywhere else to put her right now, since we're
Okay,
looking at public
okay.
defenders here. That was
Sure.
kind of my one space was when you
The
vacate
ones,
this.
yeah, I know, we talked about that here.
We talked
too.
about that, but
Yeah.
now we have public defenders that.
Yeah, okay,
We keep, I mean,
sure.
we try to reduce,
Well, a question, it's probably a lot, what about the room across the hall? Is that big enough?
no, not that just, or the meeting space. Well,
I mean, if we deal with the meeting space
Another issue
against
is-
the judge, is that a better solution?
no, well, the other
That's what-
issue with the judge is security. She is a judge, she does need some level of security. So that's why it worked well in the back, but up here in the front,
Yeah.
and then we got an issue with security. Securing her suite and
Yeah.
some privacy there, so, which kind of leads to the
Had to
next
ask.
slide. We threw this in here, we knew we wanted to talk about the existing property and the disposal of those, so,
Okay.
Mike, if you
Yeah,
want to
let
jump
me,
in
no,
here.
let me jump in. Just as we talk through these facilities, obviously, there's some efforts going on right now to dispose of properties that are not needed. The historic jail and sheriff's facility is being marketed by the land bank. The 115 Sandusky, we're in the process of entering into an agreement with DCFA to market that facility. John touched upon, and we were going to start to sit down and look at the Willis Building reconfiguration, and getting that part, the space that's not needed back out on the market for some income. Once Bixby campus starts to be developed, there's going to be some actions that'll come out of that, which the two primary ones are the Wolf Building, would be up for sale. And then also the Channing Street redevelopment that we've been working on. And then the most recent project is,
Oh, dog shelter.
we need to look at relocating the dog shelter so that we could sell that property land out there. And we're looking at a joint project with Humane Society.
What about 109 and then the service station out on 23?
Yeah, 109, it presents a challenge with parking, and the connectivity of that. So the service center on 23, the maintenance facility, the drug task force has a need for additional space. So they've been looking at that, and then we could possibly do something with the law, what we call the law property, where they're located there at 1251. So
The service center is going to need, that property, we're going to need to do,
the environmental, we'll have to remove the
there's going to
fuel
be some
tanks.
pretty
and-
significant environmental work that'll need to be done to get that site back.
But the actual, our maintenance facility, the newer building would work perfectly for the drug task force, what they do. There's a good office space, and there's also some storage space for their undercover items.
Does the county foot the whole bill for that, or is that divided by other entities as well?
As far as the drug task operations,
But it's more than just the sheriff's office, or there's others that
yeah,
are
I
involved?
don't know the funding of that, but,
I always thought there was multiple funding into that, but I.
yeah, because there's multiple
Yeah.
agencies.
It never used to be, I don't know if it's changed since I left, so.
There never used to be multiple funding?
No.
Okay,
The other jurisdictions provide staff, but the facility part, they don't pay into as far as I know.
okay.
What about the Court Street then?
I'm working with Sands Decker on the plans to move forward with the demo of that building and additional parking. It's currently, they're submitting to the city, we need a variance on the setbacks. They've done a preliminary design as to change that into parking, add about, because of the site differential, the grade differential, we probably could add about 9 parking spots there. Given we have to keep the generator, the garage there for the generator, and there's some grade differential. So Sands Decker is working on the plans for that currently.
That's the direction you want to go.
Yep. Yep. And wrap things up, yeah, you can,
So, I don't want you guys to think that this is extremely far along. This is the social services campus, very, very conceptual look at it. Obviously, it's just been basically putting blocks on a piece of paper. You can see this is the sheriff's facility, and then Glen Parkway, and then the roundabout, just, for example. The primary entrance would be in this location with a drop-off type facility or overhang. This building right here that I'm showing in the outline would be potentially developmental disabilities, mental health and recovery, and also JFS. The space is shown for those groups. This facility down here is the support agencies that mental health and recovery employ. Helpline, Safe Harbor, Mary Haven, Southeast.
All subsidized by mental health?
Yeah, yeah. This facility.
It's the only way I feel comfortable supporting it if it's.
Exactly. These are all showing this as this is a very small percentage of a county project. The primary funding will be through mental health and recovery because a majority of the campus is their facilities. Then you have the developmental disabilities and JFS, in the facility. But those are all the providers, and once again, they have their own entrance. There's where people would go for treatment, things of that nature.
Okay.
This is a residential crisis center that Mental Health and Recovery currently funds a local one, I think up to $600,000 a year, okay? And it's a private, I think it's a private or non, I'm not sure their designation. So they feel that they can save a lot of money by having their own facility located here. Why I think this would be very beneficial to the county is it's set up so that ambulances and also sheriff's deputies can bring people that are going through mental health crisis to this location. And you can see there's kind of a separate entrance to that. Once again, very, very preliminary, just, I hate to even show these because it makes it seem like we're really far along, but it's just a concept, courtyard area, in the location. So probably looking to advance into preliminary design in 2021 and just continue. Once we have this set up, we need to now, the funding needs to be laid out fully. We didn't have costs, preliminary costs or anything to really dive into that. So the one thing about this site plan that I didn't like that they're going to change is I don't see room for future expansion easily. I'm talking 30, 40 years now, but still, this is a nice layout for connectivity, but it doesn't leave itself for future expansion very easily. So,
Is there a reason it's not just one building that they're sharing?
yeah, they're contractors. Those agencies like Helpline and stuff like that are contractors of mental health and recovery. I think it provides a little bit more of an arm's length transaction for their organization.
It increases the footprint.
What's that?
It increases the footprint.
It does.
So, and it's our space.
So
It's our land.
Yes, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
we can look at the connect, those connectivities.
Is that the full extent of the parcel? That's our property boundaries then?
No, there's some additional, I think it's about right here. This is some additional, and I've been talking to Rob Riley and Chris. Their original layout of this Glen Parkway had a detention basin for the road right here. So I've told them since that this is going to be used. So there's probably going to need to be a little bit more property that needs to be, to implement this layout. So.
How much acreage will that leave after all this is done?
None.
That's our full 60 acres?
That's beyond the full 60.
There'll be the fire grounds.
Well, I'd take that back.
On
And
Boatown.
On Boatown, there'd be some,
And there's probably a good we can go to the, if you want to go to the flyover, that might be a
You
little.
have that. You go back.
So as John was saying, this is really a hard, this property line kind of goes down through here. And that social services campus pretty much goes down to, I think, about this location. So we would need to get some additional property right here. I was talking to Rob and Chris a little bit too. Would it make sense, we had an access point like right here into the facility. Would it make sense to move that down there? Road geometry, if there's lights and stuff like that. But as John said, there'll be this space right here that'll still be open, and the fire training grounds. But yeah, there's a lot filled up on it.
Yeah,
So.
and there is a little bit of, there's a little bit of expansion space on the existing Career Center building in this location. That's a pretty good footprint right there in the green space there, so.
And the sheriff's facility was set up to.
Yeah, to expand it in this location right here.
And we could move stuff out of the building and move it over there. We could move it out of the existing Career Center, move it over there, which would free up more space in the Career Center.
So where exactly is the social service campus?
It's off the slide here. It's-
Oh, okay.
The bottom of it would run like right
Okay.
here. Or-
Thank you.
No, actually, no, it lined up, our property's lines right here. It runs down to about here.
Okay,
That's our property line right about there?
It's about up here that runs at an angle to 521. And this is.
so on the other side of the road,
There's a
north side.
farm field, it's a separate parcel right in here that's adjacent to ours that we look at possibly have to acquire additional land.
Okay.
Have we had any further discussions on acquiring land to the east or to the west?
To the west, that little
Yeah.
parcel down in here.
We have not. It felt like the property was overvalued, being overpriced because it triangles in behind those homes.
Right.
And it really
Agreed.
isn't as usable as what,
And a really,
number one, you can't use the property. Number two, those people aren't really happy with anything going on behind.
you build right up to their back lot would be,
So we have not.
Okay, I was just
I'll
curious.
check with the broker, because I didn't feel but it'd be interesting to see if it's still on the market and if somebody picked it up. But I could see a small strip of it being very valuable for the county if we ever, because it would make that space a lot more usable. And there's actually there's a road connection probably that would end up going to the Seattle house, I think. It's that apartment complex.
across the road, yeah, because that includes that house, the adjacent house on Bowtown, and then they own that triangle lot that's it's kind of landlocked, and it's really up against all those residents that are not very big parcels, so. Yep. Any other questions? That kind of wraps it up.
Just want to reinforce that social building, I need to see the math that it's not on the county dollar. It shouldn't be. We've got the levy for mental health and DD and.
They've got good cash
And
reserves.
so they've got good, but everyone's willing to ask for the county to subsidize something, and we've got to be really straight about that. Even the land theoretically should be purchased or leased or something, because it won't have any value to the county after they put the buildings on it. Just my observation.
Yeah, we had a meeting initially. It's a very complicated, it's something that can be worked out, but it's very complicated. The way their levies can be used for permanent improvements because they're, and once again, I would need Eric here to explain it. But we plan, the biggest, I think, component that the county will have is, John, you currently provide maintenance and facilities and IT to DD, so I can see that we'll have some collaborative arrangement there with that. But yeah, we'll definitely, now that we're starting to hone in a little bit on what it looks like and what the cost is, we can start to put those.
And utilities will be on them as far as,
Exactly, so. But I think there's challenges. I think the agencies that have levies, it's a little bit more challenging to do building from their revenue. Once again, it's a kind of a legal financial thing that we'll step through.
Yeah, it depends upon the levy language that was passed. Yeah.
There's absolutely a lot to work through. And just for perspective too, you mentioned about this, the building and not one. This is the proposed, the sheriff administration building. It's about 34,000 square feet. So there's quite a bit of square footage in these buildings. And these are actually, they were like at two-story buildings here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the square footage
sense.
is pretty immense in those buildings. There's another reason they're separate buildings and not just all underneath one roof.
It's really exciting, and when we get a little further along, I think it would be great to have a work session, to see it, and with Bob Anderson and Chris and Deanna, when they have people that come in there need their services, to be able to refer them to walk down the hallway to that other building, with Helpline and Southeast and stuff like that. And, even maybe our social worker that we have in JFS can meet out in the courtyard with the treatment provider.
Yeah.
And all that stuff it's kind of over my head a little bit, but it's really exciting to see that. And
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so much
they-
more
they-
efficient.
They come in the front side for maybe the initial, for service, and then they'll come in the back side of the facility in the future for their ongoing treatment and stuff. So once again, I'm
Well,
I'm
and
not
it-
doing it justice, but
It's very similar to what we're doing with Bixby and all the services that we're putting there
Yep.
for construction.
Yep.
It's very similar.
Yeah, the front building, those are the DD, JFS, mental health, that really work together.
That's-
And
well,
they can work, and
right.
then have clients that will go between each other.
Right.
other
I was
agencies,
saying,
so.
part of this whole equation is something that it's so difficult, and I know in, talking to Bob Anderson about this and with JFS, you've got this big imposing building, and, how do you get people to use the services of JFS and then the mental health services and, which are down the street. And so, there's a real human element to this, that this brings home and enables those who really need the help to actually feel comfortable enough to get it.
well, no one's questioned that, but there is levy dollars that the voters have voted for to be used for those purposes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my only concern is that we don't grade that line.
Yep.
Yes, we're going to have to look at that.
Yep.
Sure.
totally agree. And there's a lot of design elements. Like I said, if you notice, there's no ponds out here. They're dry ponds, and that's a fountain that you see because of the risk of
Sure.
somebody drowning or something. These buildings have more light, natural light coming in, all straight angles. For calming effect. And once again, I've learned more about social service architecture than I probably ever knew.
I bet.
And also maybe to reassure you, again, this looks like a really defined layout, but this is more a really glorified bubble drawing, bubble diagrams of relationships and interconnections. And the modern technology, architects can do this. We've just done the program needs of these agencies. There's no interior layout of these buildings other than just the dotted lines, so, yeah. So we've gotten to the point, our next step will be the funding and the
Sure.
estimates, so.
Right. No, that's great. It's the whole thing, your whole presentation.
Great.
Well, of course, Marissa put this together.
Yes,
John and I
great,
came
thank
to
you,
her-
Marissa.
We went to her yesterday morning, so we need her presentation.
Better throw something together. So, she did wonderful work, so.
No,
Any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all you, boy, for all your hard work.
That's it?
That's it, unless you have something, that's it.
No other big buildings to build? Yeah.
I think there's enough big buildings there. There's-
I think, just one more, I think you'll find that the courthouse, the historic courthouse, the transformation is great, but also the practicality of the finishes and the cost of the finishes. Nothing, is overly elaborate or anything like that. I think, once again, I think it matches what you guys did on the courthouse over here. It's very functional, very, it fits, and once again, the Bixby's gonna follow the same line, so.
It's great, thank you. Gosh,
One thing you didn't address, manpower changes, same staffing,
We did, well, I mean, we did have a request for one additional general.
you didn't bring it up.
It wasn't in the power.
This was,
there you
That was
go.
capital. It's in the budget. With
I'm
the,
gonna move away.
you're gonna move away. No, we,
It's on the PowerPoint, but it's off the table.
it's off,
That's
no,
right.
thank you for asking.
Thanks, Brad.
No, we do have, again, we carried over from, we had a couple positions in the 20 budget that we obviously did not pursue. We do want to still try to pursue adding a general maintenance worker. One additional, I don't want to say duties, but additional workload was added. EMS had their change to where their maintenance worker retired, and they changed that position to be their logistics coordinator. So we're taking on all the light maintenance that they used to perform for the EMS stations. So we've added that work. And we're having difficulty here lately with we've had a couple grounds workers go out on different leaves, so we've been shorthanded. We're having a hard time backfilling when somebody's out on leave on those positions. So we wanted to look at adding a general maintenance worker, less qualified, more utility person to help the lead techs and still help with the grounds and fill in some of the voids. And then do the light maintenance that's going to be required at all the EMS stations. They would not be dedicated to EMS. They would then help pick up that load that we are going to be picking up next year with that retirement.
Okay,
We're not asking for a specialist. We've got 6 specialists now. Again, we're looking at more, basically moving away from buildings and grounds, definition, and go with general maintenance work, which I'll work with, HR on that job description so that it'll encompass, snow removal, grass, landscaping, and.
oh, yeah, I definitely think that's necessary.
Any idea of the savings we'll incur when we get rid of all these buildings, utility-wise? I know it's probably not that big a number, but
But we're adding so much more.
Yeah, I know
But the fortunate thing, they are more efficient buildings. The courthouse is a perfect example. The new courthouse, pretty similar square footprint as the Hayes building, but it's a lot more efficient in utilities, so. So there will be an offset, the Bixby's going to add a huge footprint. But with part of the prices, we wanted to make sure we had the proper HVAC systems. Again, part of the difference in the Hayes building and the new courthouse is that there was some value engineering done in the Hayes building to save construction dollars, but we're paying for it in the long run in utility costs. We're looking at a future project on the Hayes building. We need to increase the roof insulation. We're losing a lot of heat. We're having trouble getting the proper heat balance in the Hayes building. The funny thing, a simple thing as we converted the Hayes building to LED lights. When they designed the building, they factored in how much light a fluorescent light gives off, how much heat it gives off into the heating of that building. We took that out of the building. We lost part of our heat generation in the building, and then we're having to try to compensate for that, so. New buildings, the new courthouse, the historic courthouse even, within that renovation is all LED lighting, but that's calculated into the heating systems. And again, we went with the boiler and chiller in the historic courthouse as well. It's more efficient and better heating.
John, you've got the radiators
Yeah.
Radiators, is that? the-
Radiators in the historic house.
Yeah.
And those are really just supplemental heat, too.
Oh, is that's what I thought.
So there's forced
Okay.
air in, all the offices for cooling and heating, and then the radiators are really for supplemental.
Okay,
Brady's gonna get a cover over that valve, right?
Yeah, we're going to work, that wasn't in the design. We will be covering all the valves.
oh, I know what you,
We'll
yeah.
get the local benchmark to come in, build some
Sure.
covers for that, so. I don't like them either. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, they can seal all the pipes except for where it makes.
It comes up and goes into the radiator.
That's the obvious part, so.
Yeah.
It's almost as ugly as the fence out back.
Yeah. I think it's uglier than a fence.
Yeah, it is. You know, the bad thing with the Hayes building is that building's all electric. And, we know what electric costs, nowadays. And, like John said, it was value engineered. Because there was originally a boiler and chiller designed for the building, and, so that was, when there was, administration change here in the county, so the value engineering come out, really big dollars, and, rightly so, but unfortunately, we're paying for it now.
And maybe since I have your audience, another good example of value engineering going awry is the Carnegie Building. Originally, it was designed with the clay tile roof and was bid that way, and the value engineering was to save $80,000, they put asphalt shingles roof on this building. And here we are 20 years later having to replace that roof at a cost of $300,000, which if it was a clay tile, we wouldn't be doing that. Could be another 50 years before you would look at replacing that tile, so. You can save money now. When it comes to
later.
construction, there's easy dollars to save now, but you
Yeah.
end up paying for it in the long run.
Were you here 20 years ago?
Yeah.
So so it's your fault?
No. I would not support that. We tried to, yeah.
I didn't realize that we bought this building not that long ago.
Oh, actually, that's when we renovated, that's when we expanded it, during the expansion.
2001.
They bought it in 78?
Yeah, I was going to say in the 80s or
I
something.
thought it was the 80s or 90s.
Did we buy it from the library, or what?
The library moved down to where they are now.
Oh, okay, so it was the library.
County Library.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
When was it, John?
You just, what, we did, 90s, early
Originally bought the
90s.
building.
Pardon me?
Originally bought this building.
When the county bought it back, in 90s. Yeah, 2000 is when we did the expansion and for the EOC and back.
It was the 90s, really?
Yeah.
That was earlier than
I thought it was earlier than that, too.
What, the building?
The building.
No, I thought that the renovations happened in the late 90s.
We opened
Yeah.
in 2000.
Okay.
We completed in 2000.
Yeah, the first renovation for 911 was done in 88.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I thought because the library moved into the Albers building.
Yeah, because when I started in 91, we moved the commissioners from the courthouse to here. So, and I get to do
Oh.
that, so.
Oh,
I wasn't here that. That was before.
now you get to do it again. Oh, gee, how thrilling. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Yep, Sarah. So that's it for budget hearings. So do we adjourn then, Jennifer? Okay, we are adjourning the budget hearing. What are you going to do in 2023, John? You're going to sleep all day, every day.
Yeah, right. I'm sure by then there'll be another project.